Well, thank you everyone for joining, and Kendra is going to kick us off.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kendra Knoll, and I work as the Chief Programs Officer at the Community Alliance of the Far East Side. And I am here today with my colleague, Caleb Sutton, who is the Executive Director at Hartford Community Center. And we're going to speak to you today about integrating services to serve whole families. To start off with, I would like to go over our agenda for our workshop today, which is our workshop overview that we're doing right now. And then we will do an introduction of myself and Caleb, and we will speak a little bit about the organizations that we work for. And then Caleb and myself, and we have a guest speaker, Josh Posley, we will speak about basic needs, then going into social capital, family goal building, justice involved, community culture adaptation, then we'll have a wrap up and then a closing. So thank you guys for joining us. Okay, and we will get started with our introductions. I'll kick it to you, Caleb.
Kendra is a Far East Side native of Indianapolis who currently serves as the Chief Program Officer for the Community Alliance of the Far East Side, or CAFE, where she oversees programs and services for the organization. Kendra encompasses 17 plus years of experience in nonprofit management, which includes program management, grant management, community cultivation, advocacy, community outreach, and partner development. Kendra's strong belief in equity for all drives her passion to create opportunities for success for underserved and underrepresented populations and communities.
Thank you, Caleb. And I just want to speak a little bit about the Community Alliance of the Far East Side, better known as CAFE. We are located at 8902 East 38th Street, right at 38th and Post Road in the center of the Far East Side. At CAFE, we have a pretty large catchment area that encompasses about 60,000 residents, where our boundaries go as far east to Carroll Road, the county line, as far west to Shadeland, Arlington Street, and then we go as far north to 56th Street and as far south to East Washington Street. A little bit of history about CAFE. Our organization was started back in the 80s when there was a need for advocacy and community building, when 4 local women on the Far East Side sat together at the kitchen table and came up with the idea to start this grassroots organization. We are a resident-driven neighborhood nonprofit organization that works to enhance the quality of life on the Far East Side. And we are committed to engaging youth, adults, and seniors in a community network that strives to keep families strong. What we do at CAFE, we provide direct programming and services and basic needs that support residents who are in desperate need. And then I'm going to go over a little bit of our programs and services. First, I would like to tell you what makes up our demographic area, and then along with the clients that we serve at CAFE. So just within our catchment area, within those boundary lines that I spoke about, when it comes to the race of that catchment area, a little close to 60% are African American Black. We have about 25% are Caucasian White, and then we have about 15% other. And then we have close to about 15% of that area that are Hispanic. Now, it's good to know what our demographics are within our catchment area, but it's really important to know what it is with the clients that we serve. And so at CAFE, the majority of our clients are women at about 65%. And then we have close to 27% that are male. And then the race breakdown within our clients, 82% Black, 12% white, 6% other. As you see, we have a wide age range when it comes to our clients that we serve here. with about 9% ages 0 to 18 years old, with a large percentage from 19 to 54 at 77%. And then I have a chart here that kind of shows what our education breakdown is for our clients, and I can read some of those numbers off. So our clients that have earned their high school diploma or GED sits at about 42%. An associate degree or above within our clients are at 3%, and then less than a high school education, we're sitting at about 19%. So giving you a little background about our catchment area, our clients that we have, I would like to share with you about some of the programs and services that we offer at Cafe. So one being our Career Pathways program, where we do a focus on education and training, where we assist clients in searching for long-term sustainable careers. We are a Center for Working Family site where we have a focus on employment, job training, and financial coaching. We focus on economic development for our community and support our residents with working with elected officials. We have a Great Families program where our focus of Great Families for now is with a focus on, children that are kindergarten through the 5th grade. And then neighborhood engagement is something that we pride ourselves on, with really connecting to the community along with the residents and being that liaison for them. We offer senior services for our residents ages 55 and up. So that can come in support of basic needs. We have a meal site program and providing a social outlet for our seniors. We have a summer teen employment camp that will be kicking off next week, where any teenager on the Far East Side, ages 15 to 18 years old, they would apply to be a part of our employment camp, where they focus on job readiness skills. And then another part of the day, they go out to paid internship work experiences. And then we also have a youth employment program with the NDES network, where this program, we focus on opportunity youth ages 16 to 24 when it comes to job readiness skills, career navigation, and case management. And something else that I want to talk about just with Cafe, I listed our programs and services, but just also I talked about our community engagement and what we do with that and staying connected to the residents and basic needs. We try to make sure that we are a vehicle of support for our residents in our community. So for an example, we are, last year we were a voting site, making that accessible for residents within our community. We are working with Keep Indianapolis Beautiful, where we are building an orchard that will be on the property of Cafe that will open up this fall. We really stand in the need of food disparities. Cafe is located directly in the middle of a food desert. So we do weekly food distributions. Last year in 2020, we gave out over 14,000 food boxes. We do offer other assistance when it comes to basic needs. So energy assistance program, we're currently in the cycle of that, where we have supported over $48,000 in support in that. And then we also provide assistance with rent, where we are connected with the Indie Rent program with the city. And we did that last year along with this year. And last year we gave out over $4 million in assistance with rent. So as we're talking about integrating services into the whole family, that really falls under Twogen work. We do that here at Cafe, and I'll briefly speak about that, where our focus is building families on their well-being intentionally while working with the children and the adults in their lives together. We provide wraparound services for the entire family. We use a co-active coaching model, where we allow the clients and the families to make the decisions of what works best for them, and we support them. And then along, like what I said, with engaging the families with the community and supporting that with community engagement. I want to speak briefly about our Great Families program here at Cafe, our Twogen work. We were one of the starting organizations with rolling out with United Way, Great Families a few years back with the Great Families 2020 program. At that point, we had our entryway and focus on early childhood education with daycare centers and assisting families with getting their children put in daycares that are level 4 and above. And then we had our family success coach that worked with the family in providing whole services and connecting them to resources that might be needed. And then with the financial success coach. So now as we go into our next step of Great Families, we kept the Great Families name in our Twogen work here at Cafe, just dropped off the 2020, which is funded through the Family Opportunity Fund through United Way. And so we revamped things just a little bit where we actually brought in a student success coach. And so with that, we are working with 7 elementary schools on the Far East Side that are our entryway for families into our Great Families program. So our student success coach works directly with the schools as a liaison as they identify families and students that can benefit from this program. Our student success coach provides weekly tutoring and tracking of grades and placement testing with the school's social worker, teachers, and principals. And then we also have our family success coach within the same role that they have with our Great Families 2020 program. And that is working with the family as a whole, providing resources within the community and support for anything that they might need for that family. And then again, keeping our financial success coach as another part with our Twogen work. We have a really good system with our financial success coach and our families, where we offer an incentive of their first appointment with their family success coach. They will receive a $25 gift card. And then we also offer a $25 match on setting them up for financial success. So what that looks like is the family is able to put up to $25 into a checking account, a savings account, or a 529 college savings account for their children, and Cafe will match that up to $25. So really starting them off with success. So now, Jody, if you can please play the video I provided you. This is just a really nice clip of a wrap-up of a Great Families graduate that we had at Cafe, who is doing extremely well. So this is kind of in the middle of her journey. And I would like to note with this, she is now getting ready to graduate with her degree in social work. And she will be coming to Cafe next month and giving back, and then also working as an intern in our Great Families program. So I would just like you guys to take a look at our video.
I was 18, my last year of high school, so 12th grade. My mom ended up passing away that same year. I have really dedicated my life to my sisters and brothers, and that's the only thing she asked me to do, make sure they graduated. I got them through high school and, you know, into their careers, and they are doing very well. I'm very proud of them. And I kind of thought, like, don't you want more? You know, now that they're grown and you have your own kids, I have to do something for me. I was across the street getting a Happy Meal for Chloe, and I looked over and I was like, what is Cafe? And this is how my journey began. I came in and I met Kim, and she's like, so you don't have your high school diploma? And I'm like, no. And she's like, you're gonna get it. They encourage you every step of the way to fulfill your dreams. They want you to succeed. So it makes you feel like you can do it. You can be somebody. And 2 months' time, I did it. I got an honors diploma, and I've been waiting for that day since I was 18. I know it's because of United Way that I was able to achieve my goal of getting my high school diploma. I am currently enrolled in Ivy Tech. I am going to be a nurse. June 10th, I start. I see my kids being very proud of me, just showing them that there are other options. You know, you don't have to be where you came from. You can make your own path. It's a great program for children too. My children are employed through the summer program, and I'm happy that it's going to be through Cafe, so I know that they're in good hands. I show them, like, if mom has that drive, they can have that drive too.
We love that story with Lisa Pride, and just a really good visual of how Twogen work, how that can be impactful to a family and to a community. So thank you for watching. Now I would like to introduce you to my co-host for this workshop, Mr. Caleb Sutton. I'm very excited to host this with Caleb. Caleb and I go almost 20 years back with our entry into nonprofit work, where we kind of ran in the same circles. So it's really good to come back full circle with Caleb and provide you with this workshop that we're presenting together. Caleb Sutton is the executive director at Hartford Community Center. He has 17 years of experience working in the nonprofit sector, with the bulk of that time operating or leading community-based programming for youth, adults, and families. Caleb also has experience working on issues surrounding housing, stability at a system level that included the monitoring and use of collective impact measures, research, and the development of systemic service delivery models. Caleb holds a Master's of Public Affairs from IU, Indianapolis campus, with a focus on nonprofit management and administrative practices. Caleb, I know I spoke a little bit about Cafe, but we would love to hear from you about Hartford, the community center at Hartford, and what you guys are doing over there.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and excited to talk a little bit about Hawthorne and our Twogen work. So Hawthorne Community Center is located on the near west side of Indianapolis. And we have a large catchment area in the west side of Indianapolis, but a lot of our footprint and service population comes from the near west side, which goes from White River to the east, Tibbs to the west, below Washington Street to the south, and up around Michigan Street to the north. So that is where a majority of the service population is. Hawthorne Community Center was established in 1923, and I think it's really important to note, very similar to Cafe, the grassroots origins of Hawthorne. Hawthorne, the actual physical site of the community center where we've been for almost 100 years, was originally slated to be a coal dump. This was a very industrial area, industrial part of town. In the neighborhood, one understood that there needed to be services to support their community, but they also understood that they didn't want that in their community. So together they came together, nickels, dimes, quarters, bought the first space and built the first community center. And so since that time, our mission has been really to meet the needs of the community. So our mission has been to facilitate programs and services that meet the social, financial, recreational, educational, cultural, and civic needs of the community members. And over time, there's been significant change in the neighborhood, socioeconomically, racially, ethnically. But ultimately, that vision has really held true and has really moved to us as a community center and organization, understanding that we need to provide a continuum of services that really support and address the needs of our families. Many of the families that we serve in the community would kind of fall into that traditional ALICE category, asset limited, income constrained but employed, and many of our families are in that. And so how do we work and partner with families to kind of support them on that journey and whatever they see as self-sufficiency and happiness? And so just kind of to talk broadly about the programs that we provide at Hawthorne, you can really kind of divide it up into three broad categories. And so we are a Center for Working Families also. And so we run a traditional Center for Working Families model. So that employment coaching and workforce development, financial coaching and asset building, and your traditional income supports or basic needs supports, the core components of our Center for Working Families. In our youth programs, we have early childhood programs. We have passed the quality level 3 licensed early childhood center for 3 to 5 year olds. We have around 40 to 45 seats in that program. And then we have our out of school time programming for youth. So what that means at Hawthorne is, so for school age youth, Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., providing programming to young people and their families. So during the school year, that means before and after school, spring break camps, summer camps, fall break camps, and this past school year, e-learning. So meeting those needs. So the next few slides are really kind of looking at, the transition that Hawthorne has gone over the past probably 5 years in really building our 2-gen model. And so the first slide is really kind of looking at, so this is the way that the model looked at Hawthorne. There was a true separation, both physical and a literal and separation in actual spaces where programs took place, and then a separation in populations that access them. So looking at this, you can see the separation between the Center for Working Families, our community engagement programming, which is really is about us working with neighborhood associations, interacting in our quality of life plans, supporting that work, and then our youth programs. There wasn't a true kind of interchange of even staff and community in those. So as we moved into the first phase of this, which was our Great Families 2020 program, partnering with the other recipients and United Way, really kind of understanding how we could start to bridge those gaps in what we did. And so the core components of the 2-gen model existed in all the different pieces that we had in function. So kind of thinking around social capital and the ways that we can support families to broaden social capital in their networks. Understanding health and well-being and what that meant for the entire family, both young people and their parents and caretakers. And really kind of then focusing on early childhood in school age and understanding, so what are we doing to really make sure young people are ready for kindergarten, and once they get there are successful? And then really thinking through the whole family, building economic assets, education, good job. And so all those pieces were operating within the organization, but we weren't really tied together until we moved into the Great Families model. And so, as you can see, there began to be a connection between the different programs. And still, in the Great Families, you can see we have community engagement and out of school time. So those are programs that there was still some connection, but we weren't working towards but what we had was we had our Center for Working Families, our early childhood, and our Natural Helpers program, which was the community engagement component of it, beginning to work together. And so I think probably the biggest thing to take away this is what was key for us as an organization is building the capacity around making that bridge between programs, and the 2-gen coaches were essential to that. So ultimately, those 2-gen coaches supported in all those connections that happened and were essential to kind of that progression. And so as we kind of move into this next phase of our 2-gen program supported through the Family Opportunity Fund, it's really bringing together not only everything that we're doing into the 2-gen model and really trying to intertwine. So originally through the Great Families, it was just focused on early childhood, and it was broader community. And so now our Twogen program is focused on families that are interacting in our youth program. So about 150 families, and 75 to 80% of all the families enrolled in our Twogen program come from our youth programs. And ultimately bringing all those pieces together of the organization, staff, populations, programming, to be led. And so in this phase, one of the things that we really thinking about is, so how do we maintain those Twogen coaches and really continue that relationship where they're building those long-term relationships and working with the staff or working with the clients, but also really thinking through how do we take the onus off of our families and the individual to navigate all the different services that we offer. So we've went through a process over the last few months with Social Legends and really tried to map out. So when someone interacts with Hawthorne, how can we ensure that they can get connected to all the services that we have, and ultimately make sure that we're really kind of thinking critically and thoughtfully as a staff of how families are connecting to everything. So ultimately, step one is very simple, straightforward, and very similar to how other community-based organizations interact, is kind of that triage. So really kind of understanding, so what is the need of the family, and what's that initial need of the family? Because many times there is an initial need. And then kind of that next step is moving to that navigator. And so the navigator is a position that ultimately works with our families or individuals as they come into the center and move them through programming. So a big part of that is really understanding what are the actual needs of the client and making sure that they understand that all the different things that we offer. And as you move into step three, you're really thoughtfully doing soft handoffs and connecting to the appropriate coaches. So hypothetically, a very straightforward kind of line through this is a family comes for early childhood programming. And that's a lot of ways how someone will enter the center. And so that navigator will work with them and make sure that support them in getting that service, but they will continue to support them and connect them with that Twogen coach. And that Twogen coach starts to build that long-term relationship with the family, really kind of connecting all those gears. And in addition to that, making sure that it's easy to connect with your income support specialist, your financial coach, your employment coach, all those different pieces. Because even kind of talking about it, it can be overwhelming even to think about. And with all the other things that a family has on their plate, trying to really kind of reduce the barriers to individuals accessing our services. In step 5 and 6 is ultimately, it's a very circular thing where that navigator is really working really closely with that Twogen coach and that family, making sure that they're making all the connections and getting the services that they need. So that's been the transition really over a handful of years in programming, to the current Twogen model, and really the integration of services at Hawthorne. And so next, we're going to talk a little bit about basic needs. And I think especially as we all are well aware that basic needs is essential to our client's success. In a lot of ways is really one of the first ways that clients interact. So basic needs refer to those things that are necessary to sustain life. Their basic needs consist of adequate food, shelter, and clothing. Basic needs also includes essential services provided by and for community at large, such as safe drinking water, sanitation, healthcare, and education.
Thank you, Caleb, for your overview of all of the great work that you guys are doing at the Hawthorne Center, and then leading us into our next section where we're going to talk about basic needs. So myself and Caleb, we've been speaking for a little while now, and we want to give you guys a little bit of break, do something that's interactive. So if you could please grab your phone and then go to kahoot.it. And then I need to end the slideshow just for a second. And I'll do that as you're going to, again, kahoot.it. And I'm loading up our interactive activity that we're going to do that we know you guys will enjoy. One sec. I'm trying. Sorry about this. So I do have a little IT support in my office with me. I need to put this page over here.
It'll be well worth the wait.
Yes.
It's very exciting, so it'll be worth it.
And if you're there, it will ask you to go ahead and enter a nickname. So you want to do that. I need it to go over to this way. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you guys should, in about 5 seconds, be able to see my screen. Please let me know. Can you see it? Caleb, are you able to see it on your end? You got it? Okay, perfect. So you should be at kahoot.it, and you should have placed your name in there, and we're going to start this. So this is interactive. You're going to look at your phone and your screen at the same time. So where it says game pin, go ahead and enter that pin number on your phone. And it might ask you to put your name in at this point. There we go. See Jasmine, Andrea. So we'll give it a little bit for all of you guys to log on. Oh, wow. We appreciate all of you. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more names popping up. Put mine in really quick. Okay, so once you have done that, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start it. It should be loading on your phone, and we're doing a basics need questionnaire. And so what you will do, you will answer the question on the screen. You'll hit the red triangle for yes, the blue diamond for no. Okay, so from that, we have 29 yes and 1 no of does the lack of basic needs affect the community you serve? Okay, so you see it goes a little fast, so we're going to go on to the next question. Does the lack of basic needs affect physical health? So red triangle for yes, blue triangle for no. We have 40, a little over 40 answers in so far. Okay, again, overwhelming response of yes. 2 said no. And this is the lack of basic needs. Does it affect physical health? Do you think the lack of basic needs, does that affect child development? Red for yes, Blue for no. "45 answers this time. Oh, we're all together. Yes, for all, everyone said the lack of basic needs, that it does have an effect on child development. Okay, I think we're getting the hang of Kahoot here. Just a couple more. Does the lack of basic needs, does it affect mental health? What do you think? Red for yes, blue for no. Okay, the answers are coming in quicker now, so we're getting the hang of it. And again, it's unanimous, yes. Now, this might be a little tricky. Do you think the lack of basic needs, does that have an effect on someone's decision making? What do you think? Elaine said, it's hard for me to get used to Kahoot. Red doesn't scream yes. I agree with you, Elaine. Reese, the red representing no and stop. Okay, with here 45, everyone said yes. And then our last question. In your opinion, does the lack of basic needs, does that affect critical thinking? Again, it's unanimous. Yes. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for participating in that. We didn't want to just speak to you the entire time, so we really appreciate that. I'm going to go right back into our presentation mode. Can you guys see my screen? Is it showing you the PowerPoint? It is? Okay, perfect. Oh, gosh. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Give me one sec. Hey, just a recap here, going through really quickly. Right, we completed that. So now I would like to introduce you guys to Mr. Josh Posley. He is a guest speaker on behalf of myself and Caleb with our workshop here. And Josh, he is going to speak to you about the impact, the correlation between basic needs and how that can really impact a community. Josh Posley, he is the CEO of J. Posley, LLC, and he is a purpose-driven, empowering thought leader whose purpose is to uplift, inspire, and empower others to learn more, do more, and be more. Josh, we do a lot of work with Josh over here at Cafe with our Yes program. Josh is a really good life coach, mentor, instructor when it comes to job readiness skills, when it comes to working with youth and adults, but he really has a niche with opportunity youth. And with that, unfortunately, sometimes there is a connection there that's higher than usual with a lack of basic needs. So Josh, thank you so much for participating in this. I left your contact information here if anyone would want to reach out to you, but I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you. I think I need to stop my screen share again so you can pull up yours. And we're very excited to hear what you are going to say to us within your expertise about the impact that a lack of basic needs can have on a community. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. So thank you for this opportunity to present on this subject. Thank you for the great work that Cafe does. Thank you for Caleb, to Kendra, and everyone at United Way that makes these sort of events possible. So thank you so much. And thank you to all of the viewers that's on. I see we have a bunch of geniuses on here. You got all of the Kahoot questions correct. And congratulations, you are 100% correct. The lack of basic needs, it indeed affects your physical health, the child development, the mental health, critical thinking skills and decision making. It affects all of those things. But what if I told you that on an even deeper level, it affects the ability to create strong communities? Okay. Now, let me take a step back real quick. I can get real passionate about my purpose and my passion. So I'll let you know a little bit of who I am. And thank you for Kendra for introducing me. My name is Joshua Posley. I'm a purpose-driven, empowering thought leader, and my purpose is to uplift, inspire, and empower people to do three things: to learn more, to do more, and to be more. Okay. I get to carry out this purpose from the different organizations that I'm a head of. First and foremost, I'm the CEO of J. Posley LLC, which builds organizations and events that teaches individuals how to learn more, how to do more, and how to be more. Okay. From there, I have my Take Care Life Coaching program. From there, I teach the importance of mental health and self-care so that we can increase our quality of life. One thing that I also do, I'm a program facilitator for the Power Huddle. The Power Huddle is an organization of Employee Indy, of their Yes Indy program, yes, the Youth Employment Services. That is a 2-week job readiness course. And the purpose of the Power Huddle is to teach the individuals how to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Okay. Now we go through this for 2 weeks, 2 hours at a time. It's to teach you about the mindset and social skills. You get those badges partnered through Job Ready Indy. But getting deeper into it, we talk about the differences between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So what is a fixed mindset? A fixed mindset is a mindset that limits an individual from being able to foster all of their hopes and their dreams and their aspirations. A fixed mindset that is stuck in those ways of lack, stuck in a mentality that is not able to foster those dreams and hopes that you have. So we teach you how to be aware of that, how to overcome that, and then how to build self-sustainable habits that will help you foster that growth mindset, a mindset that will teach you discipline, consistency, and confidence, that will help you build all of these things and all of the prosperities that life has to offer. Now, for the Power Huddle, for my personal clients, I have 3 specific goals, okay? This is the aim of my purpose, and this is my purpose for being on this earth, and this is what I intend to pour into the people that I work with. Number 1, to reach 100% of your potential, okay? Anything that you have that you deem that there's something that you want to achieve in life, any good thing, any prosperous thing that you could ever think of, your highest potential can achieve that. So number 1 is to teach you how to reach 100% of your potential. Number 2 is for building prosperous living. So I always say that all the joys and happiness and prosperity that life has to offer, you are entitled to that as long as you have the work ethic and the discipline and consistency in your work ethic to bring that to fruition. It's about the mindset that's able to foster these things that you deem that you want in your life. And number 3 is building community, okay? Because we've all heard the analogy, and it's turned into a bit of a cliche, that you can't pour from an empty cup. But what does that mean? That means unless I get replenished, unless I get poured into, unless I get nourished mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and socially, there's no way that I can then take those same resources and pour it into the next generation, the next community. And I'm glad I'm able to give this presentation here right now as we discuss the 2 generations, to talk about what is possible for an individual, what is possible for a community when our basic needs are met. So going into further my purpose, going into pouring into the community so that they can achieve 100% of their potential, there's a couple barriers that I've run into with running the program. For example, anytime it seems as though the people that I'm able to resonate to the most in that moment, and without digging deeper into the concepts and the principles that I'm discussing, are the people that have their basic needs met. Because if not, there's a life deficit of those needs that leads to further distraction. They're distracted about the things that I'm talking about, some of the things, because I'll talk about how principles are universal. I'll talk about the different aspects of creating a system for success, creating a mental health, self-care routine, creating these things that's going to help foster that person that you were designed to become. However, they can't focus on that because they're focusing on their needs not being met, and they are hungry. They don't have that security at home. They don't have the proper water. You know, you say you're supposed to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Most of them don't have the resource to fully run in water. So how can they pour into themselves physically or mentally if they can't even find the proper sources of water? One of my favorite principles is that what you think about expands. So you become an expert in any field once you continue to place your time, your attention, and your energy to that. But if your basic needs aren't met, then you're going to continue to gain thoughts and momentum and expand your mind on your sense of lack, as opposed to how can I gain a mindset to build abundance. So I'll give a little background. Okay. So in 1943, Abraham Maslow came out with one of the biggest psychology theories of all time. Okay. It's called the Maslows Hierarchy of Needs. Okay. In that journal, he wrote about the motivations of an individual, and the levels and the stages that one has to get to be motivated to level up. Okay. So as you can see in the diagram to the bottom right, you see the basic needs section is the physiological needs, which is made up of food, water, and rest, having security of a home. And then next is the safety needs, how I can be secure in my home, knowing that I have that taken care of, and now I can move on up and up to the higher levels of the hierarchy of needs. Okay. But nothing can be fulfilled unless my physiological needs are met. Okay. There's no way that I can focus on the highest level of the hierarchy of need, which is the self-actualization. The self-actualization is the fulfillment of one's potential, which is what my number one goal is to give to my clients so they can ultimately achieve that 100% of their potential and foster all the prosperity that life and God has to offer you. Okay. So I want to share a few stories that changed my approach, that changed my life, that were really eye-opening to me, that shows that in order for us to be able to build strong communities, it is imperative that we have the basic needs met of that community so we can build community that fosters a mindset to teach other individuals around to learn more, do more, be more. Okay, so for the sake of their privacy, I have given them alias of just off the top of my head, but I'm going to share these stories with you. So I will never forget the first day of the Power Huddle. I was coming in. I finally get to do more things that helps me execute my purpose. I finally get to do more things that helps me pour into others and help fulfill my purpose and my passion and the reason why God put me on this earth. Okay. I'll never forget, I walked in, I had only 2 students. It was totally fine because, look, you guys are going to get this content one way or another. So I walked in and I see 2 gentlemen sitting there. One guy, he looks pretty familiar. I couldn't put my finger on quite where I seen him before. I asked him, maybe you know some of my younger siblings, or maybe I've crossed paths with you at some point in life, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something stood out about him. So we go on to talk about the subject I was talking about, the power of managing your mental diet. In there, I talked about, okay, since I'm managing my mental diet, that means I have to be aligned with what I want to place my attention to. Okay. One of the things I talked about is my strong faith. I talked about my scriptures, my devotionals and things. And I talked about my church family. So I talked about my father being a pastor, and Glenn stopped me. He said, wait a minute. If you're Joshua Posley, that means your father is Pastor Posley. I'm like, yes, that's him. And he said, yeah, I remember going to your church when I was younger. And then it dawned on me. I remember him from church. He was about 4, between the ages of 4 to 6. And I remember he would come in with his mother. He was an only child. And I could tell that they were lacking resources of their basic needs. I could tell that his mother had some severe sickness I never knew what was going on or what the illness was, but she always carried a breathing tank and a walker. But she wasn't that old. She was in her early 40s at the time. So I just knew something was going on. So, you know, I asked him, well, I haven't seen you in quite some time. Like, how have you been? What's been going on? And he then led to tell me a story that almost brought me to tears on my first day of the Power Huddle. He began to tell me that throughout that time, while he was going to our church, that he and his mother lacked the basic needs of any category you could think of. They didn't have proper food, they didn't have proper housing, they didn't have money to pay rent, they lived in an abandoned apartment, they didn't have the resources, and she couldn't work, she couldn't do anything for herself, and he didn't know how to pour into himself, he didn't know how to build himself. His thought process was nothing about that top layer of the hierarchy of needs of the self-actualization. His thought process was expanding to his sense of lack and need of what he needs to get fulfilled in his life, because unless that foundation is secure, there's no way to level up. So he told me that his mother has since passed away. She passed away 2 years prior, and since then he wasn't able to go to school because of the lack that they had while she was living. Was not able to go to school anymore, so he dropped out. He didn't have any way to get more food, so the canned goods that he had to try to open them himself and eat that in the cold. This all happened through the winter time. He didn't have rent. He didn't rent money. He didn't have the ability to pay his electric bill, so he's sitting in the cold in this abandoned apartment trying to salvage and find food in any way that he can. His father was not in his life. He's all alone within himself, trying to find a way to survive because of the struggles that he had while his mother was living. He was not properly prepared to move on and carry out things, anything from mentally, emotionally, because he couldn't even figure out where he would eat, where he would lay his head, because his basic needs were not met. Second story I want to share, in my life coaching program, there's 4 things that I teach about. Number 1, how to understand your purpose and passion. Number 2, how to create your system for success. Number 3, how to effectively execute your goals. And number 4, how to create your daily self-care routine. And so I will never forget, I got done talking about one of our sections in our key focus point called, which is our group master call. And then our one-on-one session, I asked her, you know, how has your progression been with being able to identify the different things that I've talked about specifically with carrying out your purpose? Her response to me was, look, Mr. Posley, I'm a mother. I have 2 young kids. I'm only 21. I don't truly know myself because all of my thoughts are surrounded by how I keep food on the table. I don't have a job right now. I have government assistance, but that's not enough to pay for the things that I need to pay for. I have other siblings living in my house, and they don't have any resources coming in. So my focus is not on how I can pour into my mind. My focus is not on my growth and development. My focus is not about a daily self-care routine. My focus is not about the things that I need to do to invest in myself, because at this point, I can't get my mind off of where our next meal is going to come. And from there, I'm thinking, now this all makes sense, the hierarchy of needs. And this shows true 100% to me, because unless somebody has these needs met, they're not able to move up to those safety needs. They're not able to move up to those social needs, the self-esteem, and then ultimately fulfilling one's purpose. So we talk about communities, okay? So talk about the foundations of communities. A lot of times when we think about communities, we think about just the people that live in close proximity around us. But second definition to a community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals, okay? So we can have a community, but not even build true community because of our lack of basic needs. And why do you say that? Because if we're not able to build our minds, if we don't have the foundation to build our basic needs and then build our growth and development so that we can pour into the next generation, we lack other connections that we can have because of the community that we can build due to the mindsets that we can build. Now, communities are only as strong as the minds that make up that community. But these minds can't fully bloom until these basic needs are met. Now, going back real quick, give you a quick overview to give you an idea of what I mean in this concept, okay? Maslow's idea is that humans are compelled to fulfill these physiological needs, which are the basic needs. They are in pursuit to fill that first, and then the satisfaction of that area will then allow them to move up and up the hierarchy. Now, one thing about this hierarchy of needs is that he built this diagram to show what a full, balanced life looks like. He built this to show what a life fulfilled looks like, because you're not able to build your self-actualization if your self-esteem is in order. You're not able to even be aware of your self-esteem, or your prestige, or your accomplishments if you don't have a sense of belongingness and feeling intimate with your family and friends. You can't even get on that level if your basic needs aren't addressed within your safety and have a house over your head that you don't have anything to worry about. But none of those things prior come about unless I have the food, the water, and the basic resources that I need to progress. Now, lastly, I want us to be able to understand how to build strong communities. And I want to put this plainly simply put, that we have to build the foundation of our communities off of building the foundation of providing the basic needs for our community. Once the basic needs of our communities are met, we are then able to invest in our growth and development and pour into ourselves and replenish our minds, take care of our mental health, our self-care, and all of the things that make us high achievers. Once that's done, then we are able to build and sustain powerful communities. We're able to pour into the next generation. We're able to be powerful community leaders. We are able to be powerful parents, aunts, uncles, and people of strong, growing communities, so that we can progress and enjoy the quality of life. So thank you all for listening to the foundation of building strong communities, and I will turn it back over to Kendra.
Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it, myself and Caleb. To everyone who is watching, if you didn't get a sense from that, I just want to tell you from my own words, Josh knows what he's talking about. He's very versed in what he does. And I urge you all to reach out to him at any point if you would like to connect with him to learn more about what Josh is doing and maybe how he could connect with you and your organization to support some of the programs and services that you guys are doing. So let's see. I see the PowerPoint. Is the PowerPoint back up? It is? Okay. Perfect. So again, there's contact information for Josh if you'd like to jot that down. And he made a true connection of how the lack of basic needs can impact an entire community. All right, so we are going to go into another topic that we picked out for this workshop, which is family goal setting. And I will turn it over to Caleb.
So a really core component of the Twogen model is family goal setting. And I think that's something that case managers have done for a long time, and it's an essential part of case management. But I think one of the nuances, or one of the things that's really kind of happened within the Twogen model is the idea of family goal setting across the entire family, and not just kind of specifically to program components that person's involved in. So when you think of kind of the different components in the Twogen model, you have your financial stability services, which are focused on employment, financial assets, access to high quality childcare and youth programs, building social capital, that long-term case management and program navigation. So those are the program components. But what's really important and what's really makes the impact is the work that the Twogen coaches do with the families, either the individual family focused on employment, the entire family focused on financial assets and social capital, or the young people and what their goals for specifically childcare or academics. And so kind of thinking about, what does financial stability really mean to that family? What are some long-term goals for employment that they have and education? Really understanding where the young people are in their education and their goals, and kind of understanding what are the social capital needs of that family and access to that community. So every family is unique. And I think that, some families may be in a space where they're super focused on building their credit and increasing credit scores. But we know that some of the families that we work with actually don't have the ability to actually access credit at this point because of their documentation status. And so this is really based on the client need and where they are at. And so next, we're going to talk a little bit about social capital. And so we've talked a lot about the financial piece and asset building, talked about youth, but the social capital piece is also really something that's essential to thinking about how do we really integrate all the different services that we have in an organization and a community. So social capital, so really the idea is that it's investing in relationships and relationship building that kind of creates this network of support to a family. And really, so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's social capital is something that the family can rely on for their personal needs as they move forward, whether they're social or different than that. So when you think of youth, the goal is really that young people have access and are engaging in making connections to their community and able to access resources and social networks. So, so at Hawthorne specifically, our goal is really to think about what internally we can do to support young people in kind of building that social capital. A really, really straightforward example is we have young people who are involved in before and after school program. We run an athletic basketball league, right? So how can we directly connect those young people from before and after to that program? Same with adult, same premise. But the key factor in that is that what we've really tried to do is we spoke about how at Hawthorne community engagement's a strong piece of what we do. So leveraging the community, leveraging all the wonderful resources on the near west side of town and the existing community that we have, and making sure that our families understand all the wonderful restaurants, civic events, art events that are happening in the neighborhood, and even kind of down to the level of connecting into the neighborhood associations and things like that. But really leveraging all the wonderful things that exist in our community and making sure that our families are able to connect to that, and really kind of feeling in place in their community, in their neighborhood, in a way that they can get value and add value. So that's really, the premise of integrating those into our work. So the next video that we have is going to really kind of touch on both of these premises, and it's a very similar to Cafe, a video United Way produced about our great families. But as you kind of listen to the video, kind of think about all the different program components that intertwined, family goal setting, and social capital. You can even see some of the social capital events that the family's involved in.
Mi nombre es Juan Toribio. Soy originario de México, de la Ciudad de México. Tengo 3 hijos de 18, 14 y 5 años. En el país tengo 22 años. Y radicando en Indianápolis tengo 18 años viviendo aquí en Indianápolis.
My name is Rita Carlos. I am one of the family coaches here at Hawthorne. With great families, we have the daycare across the street, the preschool, so we offer it to our families. Mr. Juan was one of our families who one of the preschool teachers really thought he would benefit being in the program. When Mr. Juan came in, he had a lot going on. He had the separation of his wife, the mother of his children, and he had also lost his mother. Everything happened like within the same week. So when he came to us, he was very down, very just, I don't know what to do, very disappointed. And then, you know, we told him that he really needed to be okay, that we were going to work together, but we needed him to work with us too.
Aquí hubo dos programas en que estamos ahorita. Fue ida y fue otro programa que fue de una muchacha se llama Cristina Sutton. Ella fue la que me ayudó más que nada en cuestión de ver la estabilidad en mis hijos, y aquí en este programa fue conmigo, la estabilidad conmigo. Entonces me orientaba en cuestión de cómo poder tener una mejor comunicación con mis hijos. Entonces el otro programa era más que nada, se enfocaba más con los niños, y este programa se enfocaba conmigo. Y más que nada ese programa trataban de decirme cómo llevar emocionalmente a mis hijos, cómo tratar de hablar, cómo tener una comunicación, que hice todo lo que pude o todo lo imposible por tratar de comunicarme con ellos.
At first, I was meeting with them maybe 3 times a month, and then it went to twice a month, and then it went once a month. And when he first came in, you know, he had that far away look, like just, I'm not here. And then when he came in, the others, you know, after 3 months, he would come in with a smile. He just seemed more happy, doing much better.
Pues aquí cuando yo llegué a este programa, para mí todas las puertas que yo tocaba, todos se me cerraban. Era algo que yo no veía la salida, o estaba algo oscuro que no veía la salida de todos los problemas que tenía, y más que nada económicos. Llegué al programa y creo que con todo pasaron algunos meses, y fue cuando fue algo que abrieron puertas, o se vio la luz, que todo fue diferente. Pues fue algo diferente, más que nada emocional y económico, que fue la luz, fue que te brilló aquí. Entonces es eso.
Before Mr. Juan went through the separation and the loss of his mother, he had his own business. He had his car wash, mobile car wash, and due to everything that went on, he ended up losing that business. But now he has really done really good. He has paid off his home. That was one of his goals, and he did do it. He paid off his home. And another goal that he's almost there is to put his mobile car wash running again, and not only that business, but also to open a food truck. So he has 2 big goals that he's wanting to achieve, and he's really close to achieving them.
What an amazing video story, Caleb, for you to share with us on such a powerful change and support that you guys provided for that family. I wrote down something that he said that really touched me. He said everything was different because it was different. I mean, just those words alone is something that actually I think will lead us right into our next topic that we want to speak about. And so, well, not this topic, the one after that, but this is something as well. So I'm going to touch back to the quote that he mentioned, and then before Rita speaks as well. But one thing that we did want to make sure that we mention when it comes to speaking about integrating whole families and what that looks like, as we all know, all families, not all families have a uniform look. Family is different from everyone of what that might be and what that structure looks like. And so with that being said, there are families that are impacted by, if there is a family member, immediate family member that is justice involved. And so we just want to speak about what that looks like, some of those effects that might come from that. I have a short video I'm going to play and talk about a little bit of reentry. But when it comes to the individual families, there might be an economic hardship that is suddenly sprung on a family, the difference in the family structure, emotional well-being, missed times, and any psychological effects that might have. And so just bringing this more close to home, I do want to mention a few numbers to you guys that's local here, Indiana. So in Indiana, we have 47,000 Indiana residents are currently locked up in some type of way, if that's in within a state prison, local jails, also federal prisons, the majority of them in state prisons at 26,000 people. Also with that, so that is just physically behind bars. But in Indiana, there are 162,000 Indiana residents that are in the justice system of any way. So if that's from physically behind bars with probation, 107,000 people on probation, a little over 8,000 on parole. And those are numbers from Indiana. So I wanted to mention that just to show how close to home this is. It might not be in your family, but that doesn't mean that the families and the communities that you serve or your neighbors or whomever you may work with, that this is something that they are impacted by as well. So keep in mind those numbers. So one thing that I do want to mention, once someone that is involved with the criminal system, if that's being behind bars, probation, whatever that may be, once that rehabilitation has taken place and they've paid their debts to society, whatever that may be, they are now re-entering in the community. And that's something that we have to be aware of and making sure that we are doing our part, because it doesn't necessarily, if it doesn't affect you, it might affect this family and then ultimately a community at a whole. So re-entry is something that is a very big topic and of importance, especially in the work that we do. And I do want to mention just a couple of things with Cafe, what we do when it comes to re-entry. We have some dynamic in-building partners, and one of them being IMPD with the probation office. We do have probation officers that are here on Wednesdays every week to meet clients on the Far East Side. And so this is to help with any barriers that it may be from having to go all the way downtown or taking a full day off work to fulfill those obligations. They can do so right in their community. And then we also service with any of our programs. There is no distinction in between clients that we serve. So if they're justice involved or not, they will still receive the same quality of care that we would do with any client. And then also making sure that on our end that we are staying informed and connected into reentry services that we can connect our clients to. So I'm just going to show a really quick video about a reentry program that is taking place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that is doing a really good job with connecting and bringing individuals back into the community. They take, it's a 90-day program where they take 50 participants at a time in a cohort of 50 and run them through this impactful program. So this video is only about 2 minutes, and I would like to show that. Jody, if you could show that, please.
Indiana locks up twice as many prisoners as the national average, and reentry programs have shown to help bring that number down.
Budget cuts have made keeping those programs a lot tougher, but there is some hope. Local 33's Lauren McCoy takes a look at one of those programs making a big impact right here in the capital city.
I've been out of prison for 2 years. and I picked up my 2-year chip, and I keep it in my pocket just for a reminder, you know, that I'm never going back to alcohol and drugs again.
Stephen Coco, Reginald Rome, and Lawrence Martin all have things in common. One of those, they all spent time in our state's prison system.
I've been convicted 4 times, you know, so it's like right now in my life, it's like a blessing to even be free.
However, change did come for all of them, right here at the Baton Rouge Day Reporting Center.
Like I said, this program that took me a long way. This program that took me so far, I have never in my life ever landed a job where I made over $10 an hour. I'm presently employed making $15 an hour working at a piping company. Thanks to this company.
The Secretary of the Department of Public Safety and Corrections listened to stories like Rome's and took a tour to see firsthand how much these programs are needed in this community.
You know, we unfortunately lost 4 of these in the budget cuts last year. So our initiative right now is to get those back. And I'm hoping, and really it's a cost saver. It's no question about it. If you know, we had to cut these because we had no choice, but ultimately you end up spending more money for more people in prison.
We teach them resumes. We also teach them social skills, life skills, how to shake an interviewer hand, how to, you know, say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Just small, soft skills that they all should know, but we just reintegrate and make sure that they know these certain things.
My mother passed away. I couldn't even attend her funeral, couldn't even tell her goodbye. And I was just wondering if she was living today, she'd be proud of me.
In Baton Rouge, Lauren McCoy, Local 33 News.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to bring just some reality to this topic, and just a reminder that this is something that we want to make sure that we support in our communities. And if you're available to do some type of programming around that for that population, it is greatly needed. And then now we will go on to our very last topic. And that is adapting to community changes and growing cultures in our communities. I'm going to briefly speak about some of the work that we are doing here at Cafe when it comes to the Haitian community. If you don't know, on the Far East Side, there is a growing Haitian community. And so I've listed some facts here and about not only are they growing here in Indiana, but across the country. As I mentioned earlier, our catchment area is pretty large, and we have a very diverse community. We have done a lot of good work when it comes to working with the Hispanic population, making sure that we have materials that are in English and Spanish. And then we have a strong in-building partner with La Plaza that we're able to fall onto if we ever need that assistance. So as we're moving forward into making sure that we're keeping up with our growing diverse community and identifying the growing Haitian population, we are doing some efforts here. And as you see, just to give you a reality, if you're reading through some of these bullets, in 2018, the Haitians were the 4th largest foreign-born group from the Caribbean in the United States. If you guys remember the earthquake, the tragic earthquake that took place back in 2010, it left 1.5 million Haitians displaced. The U.S. government extended temporary protected statuses to certain groups of Haitians, and more than 55,000 Haitian immigrants have been granted that TPS. The Haitian migrants have become a very growing part of the Indiana community over the past recent years, with over 10,000. And so over at Cafe, like I said, we have a very growing community. We actually have put in place with our resident connectors, which is a program we have to connect the residents to the services that we provide. But we made sure, and we were intentional of connecting out to the Haitian community. And we have 2 Haitian resident connectors that are able to come back to Cafe so we can meet the needs of that community. And we are also in the process of hiring 2 community engagement coordinators that have to have experience in that Haitian background, along with being bilingual in French. And so that's something that we are fighting over here when it comes to translation services. So not only English and Spanish, but making sure that we are incorporating French. We offer HSE classes along with E&L classes with our partnership with Warren School District that takes place here in Cafe. And with our E&L classes, about 60% of those students are from our Haitian population. So I just definitely wanted to bring up this topic as we're thinking about the work that we're doing and making sure that we are recognizing our growing and changing communities. So I now want to turn it over really quickly to Rita Carlos. She is the 2Gen coach at Hawthorne Community Center in the video, and she's going to speak about the work that they're doing when it comes to adapting to some of the changes that they're seeing when it comes to cultures. Rita?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to be part of the 2Gen Summit. It's great to be here. I am going to discuss a bit about our work that we are doing with our 2Gen families and our CWF families here at Hawthorne Center. We have been able to provide wraparound services to our families, case management, employment, and financial education services, financial support, a weekly food pantry, preschool care, before and after care. We were able to transfer 48% of our Great Families 2020 caseload to our 2Gen program, which was something great. Most of our referrals for enrollment are through word of mouth. On a center level, this makes us very excited as we have gained trust in the community, and the community members know that we are here to serve the community. I think this is great for Hawthorne, and makes us feel warm around the community. Hawthorne has expanded within the Hispanic community. We have seen an increase in our CWF Hispanic families being involved with our services offered here at Hawthorne. When the pandemic started last year, families would reach out to us with questions, concerns, and wanted us to help explaining the curfew or explain what the term essential workers meant. They saw Hawthorne as a helpful resource, and we were very blessed, to be able to give information to our families who, in a difficult time, reached out to us. We have several success stories like many other centers. I am happy to share a couple with you. One involves a family that we have been working with for the last 2.5 years. She was in Great Families, is now at 2Gen, in the 2Gen program. At the time that I helped enroll the family in our program, she was in Holy Family Shelter. Single mom, 2 boys. During her 5-month stay at the shelter, she never stopped going to college. This day, she continued college. She uses the bus to commute and takes up to 5 to 6 buses a day to get to school, to daycare, and to her college. She has been living on her own for the last 2 years. She is very grateful for the support that Hawthorne has offered to her and her family, and we are very blessed to have been able to see her achievements in the last 2.5 years. We have another, I'm going to share another success story that happened during the pandemic. Last year, a family that we are working, she was also in Great Families and now in the 2Gen. The family was diagnosed with COVID-19, first the wife, and then 2 weeks later, the husband. The husband became very ill. He was hospitalized. She was able to stay home. During the 2.5 months, no income was coming into the home. The family was already in a financial situation before the pandemic started. They both had not been working, no income. They were not on food stamps, any assistance. Hawthorne did help the family apply for food stamps. During the difficult time, Hawthorne we were able to drop off food at her house. We did drop offs. We went twice a week, left the food, on their porch, call them, they would come out, get it. Hawthorne was also able to provide gift cards to buy cleaning supplies, extra food. They were very thankful. They were behind on their utilities. Hawthorne helped put them up to date. They were already behind before the pandemic. So they were very blessed, you know, for us to be there to help them, support them, answer questions. So that was a blessing for us. Hawthorne has and continues to build partnerships with other community partners as well. We look forward to continuing to grow with our partners and our community. It's great to be part of an organization that has many success stories and will continue to do so. Thank you so much for letting me be part of today's summit.
Thank you so much, Rita, for sharing that information and all of the work that you're doing over there at Hartford and just for Indianapolis as a whole. Caleb, we have made it to the finish line. So it was my pleasure. Caleb, I'll let you say a few words to wrap up, but thank you guys so much. I just want to say a final and again, another thank you to our guest speakers, Rita and Josh. Caleb?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you, Kendra, for all the wonderful work that you did on this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And thank you, Jody, for your support in the background. Thank you, Rita, Josh, and thank you so much for everybody coming. I can't believe that like 44 people came to hear us talk, and we made it the full time. So I hope everybody has a nice rest of the conference and a nice rest of your week. Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you, United Way. Bye.